Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend just a little bit of time talking about cards from Lord of the Rings card game. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm Ted Bennick, and I love talking about bears. And we're talking about the bear today. So I'm super excited.
Yeah.
We got grab yourself some beverage and some honey cakes and strap yourself in for this episode because it's going to be the bee's knees.
The bee's knees. You know, when Caleb first came on the show, he reviewed Galadriel. We talked about Galadriel, and his original rating was the bee's knees.
Because he didn't want to give it a number. He just wanted to say, like, it's cool.
Yeah, it's really good. And then I pushed him, and then he gave Galadriel a 1. Okay, but before we get into talking about today's card, let's just very quickly tell you how you can stay plugged into Card Talk. We have a YouTube channel. It's vibrant with a ton of videos. I should probably look. We're approaching like the 500 videos on our Card Talk channel. Ooh. So, yeah. And not all of them are episodes. We do have several playthroughs of varying degrees of good.
Yep.
Yep. I mean, when I was early on, I didn't really know the rules. So some of those early playthroughs that I was doing were tough. But needless to say that we have a YouTube channel. We have our audio channel, obviously. But Matt over at the blog, he's our blog master, Cat Attack 22. He keeps us up to date over at the blog at cardtalk2018.com. So if you want to read about what these cards do, you can read it over there. Then there's Micah is doing Second Breakfast like every other Sunday. He gets some stuff put together and plays a scenario and has some deck building restrictions and stuff that he likes to do. So that's a lot of fun. We also have an email address where you can get a hold of us here, the hosts, and that's cardtalk2018.com. Oh, sorry. That's our blog. Yeah, no, it's cardtalk2018 at Gmail. I was going to say .com, but it's cardtalk2018 at gmail.com. And then if you want to help keep the lights on here at the pod or over at the blog, we have a Patreon, and that's patreon.com/cardtalk2018. Ted,
hey.
Growl at me, buddy. What's the card today?
Rawr, it's Beorn. Rawr, from the core set. Yeah, we got Beorn. He ally Beorn, which came out in the core set and was reprinted in the revised core set. So we're going to chat about him today, and he's a real interesting guy. He's a whopping 6 cost. He's a 6 cost ally. That's 2 whole turns of resources if you're counting, kids. He has stats as follows. He's got 1 willpower, 3 attack, 3 defense, and 6 hit points. He's a unique character because there can be only one. He's a Beorning. He's also a warrior. And he's got an action inside his text box that says action. Beorn gains +5 attack until the end of the phase. At the end of the phase in which you trigger this effect, shuffle Beorn back into your deck. Limit once per round. I guess you can't trigger it multiple times in the same turn. You can just do it one time. Give him a one-time attack boost, which would be 8 if you had nothing else additional, which is very high. Beorn. Have you paid 6 resources? Have you put
absolutely
this card on the table? Okay, great.
Absolutely.
Tell me about your experiences.
I mean, so I'm going to tell. This show's all about Caleb here. It's funny because there is and I'll put it down there, but there is a FAQ entry about Beorn specifically. I think it's about sneak attack. But like if you bring sneak attack Beorn into play, which is an amazing combo, And then,
Yeah, right from the core set. Sneak attack was a leadership card
yep,
right in the core set.
yep. And then you bring Beorn out. You trigger Beorn's ability to get 8 attack, and you can kill hill trolls and Nazgul and all this stuff. So like it's cool. And then it says, because there's two triggers there. There's the sneak attack trigger, which says at the end of the phase, bring it back in your hand. And there's this trigger on Beorn that says at the end of the phase, shuffle him back into your deck.
Which happens first, Dave?
Well, so the first player always gets to choose that.
Because they're happening at the same
time. They have the same trigger. They have the same, and they're both actions. So, there's a rule about, passive abilities, actions and responses and things like that, but they're both actions. So there's no priority in this case of one over the other. So the first player gets to make the decision. Somebody asked Caleb at an event. It may have been Con in the Rings. It may have been
Gen Con or something.
Yeah, something. And I was there. It wasn't Gen Con. It must have been Con in the Rings. So like I was there, and somebody said, Caleb, I'm sneak attacking Beorn. What happens to Beorn? And Caleb said, well, he gets shuffled back into your deck, because it doesn't say where he's getting shuffled from. It just says he gets shuffled back into your deck. It doesn't say if you bring him back into your hand.
And
that doesn't. And everybody looked at him and said, no, the FAQ uses this as the exact thing that this guy comes back into your hand if you trigger his, you can't do that. Like, because he was surrounded by, like, everybody there was just like
surrounded by players of the game.
Yeah, like, whoop. Like everybody just stared at him, and it was like, no. And he was like, oh, I guess it just comes back to your hand. But all of that to say, like, Beorn is great. He goes into a lot of decks. I would say that sneak attack is great. One of the things, if you just have the core set that happens, and you're playing Spirit, you can discard Beorn, put him in your discard pile through Eowyn's effect, because it doesn't, and then you can play Stand and Fight and bring him back out into play for 6 resources.
6 spirit resources to play now.
It's spirit resources, because Stand and Fight is a spirit card. So there's ways to sneak him into play, and that's really good. And then that warrior trait is also really good, because that opens up a whole bunch of attachments you could put on him if you're, like Raiment of War and like all this stuff. So I haven't been too sneaky, or what do I want to say, like shenanigan-y with Beorn, but I know that he's just really good, and he's the most expensive ally in the game. Tied with Brock Iron, tied with Brock Iron Fist. But where Brock Iron Fist isn't worth 6, this guy is absolutely worth 6. He can do a ton for you. So, I don't know. So, Ted, what shenanigan-y things have you done with this guy?
Yeah, so just as you mentioned, his stat line is robust, right? 3 attack, 3 defense, 6 hit points. That means he can very easily withstand, he can soak a bunch of, he can take some archery damage. He can take damage from treacheries. He can defend and take some damage. And then when he gets close to his threshold of death, you can trigger his ability to turn into a bear and attack somebody and then shuffle in your deck before he's killed. But even that, just 3 attack, that's hero strength attack. On top of all those hit points and stuff. But yes, 6 is really expensive. So if you only have the core set, Dave mentioned 2 great ways to get him into play. You could play him out of Sphere, as you mentioned, with Stand and Fight. Still 6 resources, and Sneak Attack is really, really great, because that costs 1 leadership resource to get him into the phase, to get him into play for 1 phase. If you have an expanded card pool, or maybe even some of the starter decks, maybe. There's 2 great ways to cheat him into
say
play.
what you're saying, and then I know what you're going to say, so I'll look while you.
Okay, so the first way I'll mention is Hero Prince Imrahil tactics version. I know the leadership one comes in the Gondor deck, but not the tactics one.
Yeah, the tactics one is in the City of Corsairs AP, which would have come out in the Dream Chaser Hero.
Oh,
stuff.
yeah. So if you have the Dream Chaser box as well, you're going to get Prince Imrahil. So Prince Imrahil is a tactics Gondor warrior hero, and he has an ability.
He's also noble.
Noble, also, thank you. He has an ability as a hero to spend a resource from Prince Imrahil's pool to search the top 5 cards of your deck for an ally that shares a trait with Prince Imrahil, which both Beorning and Imrahil share the warrior trait, and that ally gets to come into play for the phase. I think it's actually specifically a combat action.
Yes, only during combat.
Yeah, so it's so good because you pay 1 resource, and if you hit Beorn, your top 5, he comes into play, and then you have a really strong defender, or you get to attack. And the way Imrahil's ability works is no matter what ally you pull, you got to shuffle it back into your deck. So you might as well as trigger Beorn's ability and attack something for 8. It's so much attack for 1 resource.
Right.
So yeah, if you have the core set and you buy the Dream Chaser box, you can play these 2 amazing cards together, and you will continue. You can put 3 copies in your deck, and you just start pulling them off the top for 1 resource over and over again for attacks and defenses. The other way to sort of cheat him into play, if you don't want to pay his steep cost, is Vilya, Elrond's Ring, which I don't know if it's in a starter deck or not.
It is. It's in the Elves of Lorien.
Oh, it is. Fantastic. So if you pick up that pack, or if you have the regular AP that it comes in, Vilya is a neutral attachment that costs 2 that goes on to hero Elrond, and you get to exhaust. And we have episodes on Elrond and episodes on Vilya. Maybe they're together. I can't remember if we did separate. Anyway,
I don't think we have an episode on Vilya.
Maybe we don't. I know we have one on.
We should just do an episode on the Rings of Power. Maybe because there are 5. We do have 5 Rings of Power in the game, I think. So we have the 1 ring, we have the 3 Elven rings, and then we have the Ring of Thror.
Oh yeah, Thror's ring.
Anyways,
yes. So if you get that card by exhausting Elrond and exhausting Vilya, lets you just play the top card of your deck for free. And we've talked about this on a couple episodes, like using Vilya, and I know we've talked about it on the Elrond episode. You just play the top card of your deck for free, which is always good. And you want to play the most expensive thing you can. So you want to play something that costs 5 or 6. But there's a whole separate there's ways to manipulate the top card of your deck with other allies and other cards in the card pool. But those are the 2 easiest ways to not pay 6 resources. I guess 3 is Sneak Attack, Prince Imrahil Hero, and Vilya.
Right. There's a couple other things that you can do, and I will say that Sneak Attack works with anything. Vilya works with anything.
Mm-hmm.
Imrahil only works with warriors, Gondors, and noble. That's why I not corrected you, but added noble there because he's looking for somebody that shares a trait. So that one's a little more specific, but there's other ways you can cheat in allies.
Like there is too.
Elfstone, which allows you to cheat an ally into play as long as you have it in your hand. Like there's things that you can do to get.
And if Grant were here, he would talk about the Beorning Skin Changer too.
The Beorning Skin Changer. That is phenomenal. So, I mean, Beorn is great. And so I think at the very end of the cycle, or at the cycle of the game, let me use different terms. At the end of the game's life, while it was being developed, I felt like somebody, maybe Caleb, wanted to make Beornings like a thing. So in the last cycle of the game, they have all these Beornings that are really good. Maybe not even the last cycle. Maybe it was the Aaron Mithrin cycle. But they have all these Beornings that do things. And so the Beorning Skin Changer is kind of the glue that holds the Beorning deck in the
Yeah.
is because it's 2 cost, but you can bring out Beornings. It'll change into whatever is in your hand, and so it's a good way to cheat Beorning specifically into play.
Yeah, Beorning Skin Changer is a 2-cost tactics ally, and as a combat action, you pick a Beorning ally with a printed cost of 3 or more in your hand or discard pile, and you discard this guy and get the Beorning into play. So again, you pay only 2 resources to get him out. So there's quite a few. There's quite a few ways. We named like 4 right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Elfstone's a good catch too that I was not thinking of.
Yeah, and I don't count a very good tail because you still have to pay this. I mean, but you still have to pay 6, right? Like, because you have to exhaust allies that are worth at least 6 to, you know what I mean? So it's like, you know, but that works all the time. That works for any ally, not just, you know. So it's a little different.
Yeah. And you know, some people, I've paid full 6 resources for him. I've also, if I'm playing leadership and I have resource acceleration, also inside of tactics, there's ways to get extra resources. Moblung Hero from the Force Cycle comes to mind. He's a hero that gives you extra resources for engage enemies once per phase. And another honorable mention is I can't think of his name. The guy with the arrow.
Hirgon.
Hirgon. Thank you. Hirgon's another tactics hero that he has a response when you quest successfully. You can play a tactics ally from your hand and reduce its cost by 1. And additionally, raise your threat to boost some of its stats. So I've done that before. I've triggered him to play Beorn for 5.
Right. And Beorn is already undercosted using the stats plus hit points, you know, divided by 2.
Formula.
So, I mean, it's 13 divided by 2 is 6.5. So, and just to follow up with Hirgon and Moblung, you can also find those 2 guys in starter decks as well. So, Moblung is in the Defenders of Gondor, and Hirgon is in the Riders of Rohan starter decks.
Yep. Thank you. So,
I mean,
if you're new,
there's a lot of ways.
Yeah, if you're new and all you have, or you're thinking of buying, expanding to the game, you pick up one of those new decks, or you're going to buy the new Dream Chaser box. You can do you can get a really powerful component to your deck for attacking with this card.
And if you're playing multiplayer, to have Beorn, you know, coupled with something like Aragorn that pulls people from other, you know what I'm saying? Like Tactics Aragorn in Sphere pulls, you destroy something, you pull something, engage with something else, and you can use Beorn, like, you know, because it doesn't do any good if you have Beorn in front of you and somebody else has the big enemy, you know, like, and so to be able to pull enemies to you is also very good.
Yeah. So the only last thing I think we'll kind of bring up is there is a hero version of Beorn is going to be his only competition. There's 2 versions of Beorn, one of which is it's this ally, and then he has a hero version who's also tactics that comes in one of the Hobbit saga boxes. Which I don't know if they've reboxed those. No.
I don't think there's a plan to. I don't think that there's.
They've been reboxing the current saga stuff. So I wonder if they might actually rebox both Hobbits just into one Hobbit saga box. I think that might be in the table for them, but maybe not. Nothing's announced. That's just speculation. So if someone's playing that hero, you cannot play this ally because they're the same character. They're unique, and both of them have their merits. They're both good for different reasons. So just be careful that if you go to an event or you're playing with some buddies that happens to have a larger card pool.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we could talk like because this is more. What do I want to say? More likely that you're going to see Beorn. Is there anything that you would put on Beorn? Like because he is a great defender with 6 hit points.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, are you going to put anything on him and run the risk of losing those attachments?
That's a great question. There are several attachments, a lot of them in the tactic sphere that can boost, that attach to any type of character, and that can boost their hit points, attack or defense, which is certainly worth doing because this guy's stats are so good. If you want to just have him hang around the table and invest in him a little bit, because you tricked him into play or he's staying in play permanently. Yeah, there's a couple. Raymond of War comes to mind. That's a tactics attachment that goes on any warrior character, and it gives you +1 attack, +1 defense, and +2 hit points. So now he's just even more of a monster, right? With 4 attack and 8 hit points and 4 defense. But you're right. If you attach anything to him and you choose to shuffle him in, then those attachments are going to get discarded. They're not going into the deck with him. So I tend to not. I tend to just leave him as he be because I am afraid to always invest in him because I sometimes trigger that ability. I've paid full cost for this guy, 6 resources, and some big enemy comes in like a troll, and I'm like, I have to kill this troll. I have to kill this troll. Right. I got to do it. So I need +5 attack. Beorn, go gadget bear.
Go gadget bear.
He leaps from the sky and does a bomb, turns into a bear, and does this thing.
Like in the movies where the eagles drop the bear and drop Beorn into the thing.
So I've done it, and sometimes you got to make those hard choices, and I hope it's the right one.
What about Defender of the West? There's a card that we probably haven't talked about.
I don't think we've done an episode on that.
No, but like we don't even bring that up. It's a unique attachment that allows a unique ally to be the target of undefended attacks. But then it goes around. It becomes like an objective ally. So the first player gets a hold of that. But like if you're playing, hobbits, and you have Defender of the West and Beorn comes out, you could take an undefended attack or two. And you can heal Beorn, and I don't know,
he does. He's got 6 hit points. That's more than that's like every hero in the game, except for his hero version, who's got 10.
Right, 10. I know.
So
crazy.
Yeah, you put him on the table. He does some work. So I'd find ways to trick him into play. But if you end up hard casting him, odds are he'll stick around for a while and do a bunch of attacking and defending for you.
Right. Yeah. The last thing that I will say is I have, in terms of card usage, and then we'll talk about the art, is I have said that he does not make a horrible Messenger of the King.
Why would you? Okay. Well, this I got to hear. So Messenger of the King is the contract that makes an ally be a hero. Why would you choose him with this ability to because then you would be shuffling a hero into your deck?
I think it's like I think first of all, he's got great
I guess
stats for a hero, right? Like
stats are super
3-3-6. He's not questing, but he's attacking and killing stuff. So yeah, you may be neutering that ability, but if you need like a final push and you lose a hero, here we go. It's last round. We got to kill this thing. Let's go. I don't know.
I've never done it.
Let me say this. There are worse targets for Messenger of the King.
Okay, sure.
I'll say that.
All right. Yeah, that could be fun. Just
Galadriel ally. Worst target for Messenger of the King.
He's got right. He does have a lot of hit points in a base 3 defense, and then if you play things to boost him, like that Raiment of War, a Gondor shield. They give him an axe or something. Yeah, he can be a quite a strong stated hero. And then in an emergency at the end of the game, yeah, you could shuffle him into your deck, and then I guess play him again if you draw him.
Right, and then he becomes
Hero
an
anymore.
ally.
He'd just be an ally, but yeah.
Right.
So yeah, if you got a full card pool, there's lots of things you can do to this guy. To a lot of things we haven't even mentioned, but we just wanted to give some of the highlights at least.
Yeah. Vigilant Guard. Like, come on. I mean, there's so many things. Anyways.
Yes, yeah. There's quite a list of attachments that we didn't.
Okay, what about the art, Ted?
It's not too shabby. I mean, you expect Beorn to be like a hairy dude, and this is a hairy dude, right?
Yep.
He's got long beard, like as far as I'm concerned.
No, that's a different card. Long beard. Long beard Orc Slayer. Long beard.
He's got long flowing mane of hair, and he's got a big, thick beard that you don't actually know how long it is, right? Because his beard as far as you can tell, it could extend infinitely. You don't know how long
infinitely.
It is.
Rapunzel the Beorn.
Yeah, you could have like 16 feet of beard, and
Beorn, let down your beard.
So yeah, he looks like he's in his home. That there's like a fire, that he's in his like hut or whatever. The fire behind him. So yeah, he looks like a grizzled, Beorning, shape-shifting dude. So
yeah,
I like it.
I like the art too. I think it's inspired a lot by the movie. I think there's a lot of movie look to it, slick back hair and stuff like that. But
this predated the Hobbit movies though, because this came out in the core set, right? And Hobbits and Beorning was in the second Hobbit movie, and the game was already out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well,
sorry, I gotta set the record straight, Dave. I'm sorry. I think.
So the movie drew a lot of inspiration on this
card,
this Beorn. But I this is one of the core set art pieces that I like. This shows the artistry of the game, I think. So I think this is one of the higher quality core set art pieces.
Yeah, I agree. I grizzled Beorning guy, and get a nice quote from the Hobbit underneath it. I don't need your service, thank you, but I expect you to be mine. So
right. Yeah, and I think that this card also, the stats and the hit points and the cost represent Beorn and who he is supposed to be. Like I think
right.
That's
if he was a weaker, if he had less attack or less hit point, you might be like, he's like a shape-shifting bear. He's like the Great Bear.
Yeah.
And you like, you expect him to be strong, and he is, which is awesome.
And I think that 6 cost also, is because it's the most expensive ally in the game, other than Brock Iron Fist. But because it's 6, it like kind of represents how difficult it was to kind of talk to Beorn to like take an interest in what was going on in middle, I think that's like
his lands.
Yeah. So anyways, should we ring this guy?
Yeah, let's put him through the ringer.
Okay, so for anybody who doesn't know, or maybe your first episode of Card Talk, we have a highly scientific yet arbitrary system where we rate a card on a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is the best card in the game, or the one card to rule them all, and a 10 is the card that we throw back into the fiery chasm from whence it was made, or one of the worst cards in the game. So Ted went first last time, so I'll go first this time. I want to drop, I don't necessarily build a deck around Beorn, but I am always considering him as a potential option when I am building cards with at least some tactics access. You probably need 2 heroes, you need some sort of resource accelerate. He just gets considered as like the big beefy ally, along with Treebeard, along with Gandalf ally. He's just in that type of ally for me. So I'm going to give this guy a 2. Ted?
Yeah. Wow. I'm right up there. I'm gonna give him a 3 because he is expensive, but he's really worth the cost, and I use him in all those tricksy ways rather than hard cast him. I find that to be much more efficient, but he's great, and if you put him in your deck, and if you spend the resources, it's gonna make an impact on your game.
Okay, there you have it. Beorn, our favorite ally from the core set. Maybe not, but
Well, maybe though.
Maybe. Gandalf's in the core set. So, anyways, everybody, have a great day, and we'll see you next week.
Do you love the content? Here's what you can do to stay connected. Become a patron. The money collected through Patreon goes into keeping the lights on here at the podcast. We love our patrons, and you can join at many different levels. Visit patreon.com/cardtalk2018. You can subscribe to us, whether you're watching our YouTube channel or you're listening to us in your favorite podcatcher. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications of all our new episodes. Didn't know we were an audio podcast? Find us by searching Card Talk to get access to our 120 plus regular episodes. Didn't know we were a video channel? Find us by searching Card Talk LOTR LCG on YouTube. And there you can find not only our regular episodes, but you can find our bonus playthroughs and other content related to the game. Want to get a hold of Ted, Grant, or myself? Feel free to email the podcast at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.